Hey there everyone, Lord Fidget here with another Aether Raids gameplay video. This time we are in Light Season, kicking things off with a relatively new team. I built this probably when this year's Brave Heroes came out. So it's pretty recent, but not like hot off the presses or anything. I've been using it for a bit, been able to get used to it a little, which is definitely necessary. I decided to take full advantage of the fact that Idun has Far Save, allowing Gullveig to rush in and take her out, which frees up Nerthus to use her Gale Force action to break the tactics room, just getting out of enemy threat range, allowing the safety fence to lock the enemy team down, since it is turn 1. For the follow-up on turn 2, the key thing to note here is the fact that Nerthus has the gravity effect on her, I think it's her B passive. I'm drawing a blank on what that skill is actually named, but the effect is that I will be able to take out everyone except the Medeus, and Medeus himself will, because of the gravity effect, not be able to take out any of my units. So here, Nerthus can attack Triandra, activating Gale Force, and then take down the Bramimond, and even though I am within 3 spaces of that Medeus with multiple units, he actually can't do anything about it. Sucks to be him, I guess. Yeah, that's really all there is to discuss about this map. The rest of it is just cleanup, with Gullveig grabbing the Aether structures, and Sigurd landing the KO. For match number 2, I've actually deployed my wall-breaking line, despite the fact that this map actually has decent chase-down capability. I deployed this team because I'm pretty sure Alchris is the only way I have to properly deal with a Tiki. I could be wrong about that, but I figured that was my best chance. And obviously I ran the matchup numbers to make sure he could pull it off, but that was my initial guess that he was the only way I'd be able to do that. And here I just executed multiple hit and run strikes, and important to note is that the way the assists were set up, Claude did not move before the melees, and thus Medeus got the refresh. If the assists were set up somewhat differently, then he would probably have gotten a refresh from Triandra, which would have been absolutely disastrous because, I mean, even if my team was tanky, Claude's instant lethalities are just, what's the word? Stupid? That's a pretty good word for it, I think. Fortunately, the assist setup was not one that got Claude the refresh from Triandra, and that makes this map a pretty easy cleanup instead of an absolute disaster. So, that was nice. Here, I was able to smite Catria to grab the Amphore, and Alchrist was able to finish the job. For match number 3, I've deployed... I actually don't have a name for this team. I'm not sure what to call it. I can't just keep calling it this team. I'll think of something. But basically, I deployed this line because I wanted to have some sort of action advantage on the player phase. Well, I mean, obviously you can't have action advantage on the enemy phase. But that was the idea behind deploying this line instead of the Wallbreaker team that I just used for match number 2. I wasn't really sure how quickly I would be opening up the position here. I knew I definitely didn't want to let Bramimond out just yet because there was the potential for him to get the refresh from Triandra, which would have allowed him to take out any number of my units over on the left-hand side, and that really wasn't something I wanted to happen. But since Triandra flew all the way over to the right-hand side, I figured, okay, now's a really great time to open up this position a little bit. And then on top of that, Triandra also actually decided to go ahead and wander over to that defense tile in a very snipeable location, so I took full advantage of that, having Gullveig grab the KO on the Medeus. And then, of course, Sigurd is able to take out Triandra. And from there, it's more cleanup. Let's see. Trying to remember if... I think Nott... she does have Disencounter. I'm trying to remember if... In her base kit. I'm trying to remember if this particular one had I imagine I probably just attacked with Sigurd, just didn't even bother dealing with it. And since the Idun was near safe, Gullveig was able to take her out pretty easily. For match number 4, this map we're starting to get a little more complex here, with the difficulty at least. I decided to go with a 2-pronged attack here, with the idea being that Sigurd can take out something on the left side, in this case the Crom. That provides Gullveig extra movement, so she can, from the bottom of the map, or rather from just above the offense fortress, she is in position to KO the Delthea and get an extra action off of that. So I did take one more turn of setup. I didn't do this properly. The ideal scenario is to have Peony in the space below the defense fortress, because that makes it so that Gullveig does not get hit by the penalties from Robin. Alas, it didn't end up mattering, but just an annoying little thing that I forgot to do properly. And then here, I actually miscalculated. I didn't think Nerthus was going to be able to one-shot Shamir, but what I eventually realized was because it was an exact KO, I could just reposition her up. That took one attack point off of the clash, allowing Nerthus to get the KO in 2 hits, and thus she would activate Gale Force, which was important because Peony was nowhere near there, and there's really no way to get Nerthus into Wings of Mercy range, so I really needed her to get that 1 round Gale Force off. And then, of course, I blocked in the Triandra, allowing me to finish things off with a little bit of Aether Structure cleanup. And then I think probably Sigurd. Yeah, Sigurd was able to take the Triandra out. For map number 5, we are going up against this warp-heavy team. I actually misread this map pretty significantly. I am so used to 7th slot trap style setups that I just assumed that the Triandra would have some way to warp out in front of Robin. I mean, maybe it was also because I saw the Tana as well. But as it turns out, she can't. And I had Sigurd all ready to go to attack the Triandra once she had moved out to refresh Robin, but then she just didn't do it. So I did have to take a little thinking time to redo basically my entire strategy. And what I eventually came up with is that Sigurd can take out the Embla, and then from there it becomes kind of a Gale Force style clear. Fortunately, I was able to set things up such that Peony was able to use her extra movement and the Pathfinder that is provided to Sigurd through Death Res Smoke to get the refresh on Nerthus. So even though she did not get a 1-round Gale Force, in this case it didn't matter because Peony was able to get over to her. And then, interestingly, Gullveig was able to one-shot the Tana, allowing me to do that, trapping the Bernadetta, and then take out the Triandra to really put the finishing touch on this map, basically. I want to say Gullveig probably, yeah. Gullveig takes out the fountain, and Nerthus finishes things off. For the 6th match, we are going up against this. I don't really know what to call this strategy. It's kind of it seems like a bit of a twist on some of those savior type setups you sometimes see on this terrain. I went with a turn 1 initiation just so I could get Corrin out of the way. I didn't really want to deal with her. Fortunately, that bolt trap wasn't real. I don't think it would have really mattered, but it's just nice to not sustain that extra damage. Of course, because I was outside of the threat range of the enemies, the safety fence locked them down. And here I belatedly realized, wait, I can't smite Sigurd up because that's the real bolt trap, and I don't think that would be a good idea to allow it to fire off there. Fortunately, because of the Pathfinder, I was able to smite Mill in front of Sigurd, and that allowed him to attack Embla. And then I took full advantage of the gravity effect on Nerthus' B passive, which allowed me to take out everyone except for the Triandra, and again, despite the fact that I am pretty close to her, she really can't do anything about it because of that gravity effect. Which allows... what would I have done here? I imagine Gullveig would have finished this. Oh no, I let Nerthus do it. Interesting. For match number 7. Oh gosh. This match. Oh no, I did not play this map well at all. There was actually a turn 1 initiation line that allowed me to take out the Shamir here, but I didn't see it until my... I call it a post-mortem, which I like to do when a map doesn't go the way I want it to. I will kind of look back at the clear and see if I could have done anything better. And yeah, I found out that there was a turn 1 initiation line that would have safety fenced my way into a much less painful clear here. Alas, it was not in the cards. I needed to shake off the panic applied by Shamir to secure the KO on Medeus. Fortunately, Gullveig is able to land the one-hit KO on Embla, but then the Gatekeeper stops her from warping. So I got bailed out by the lack of an active duo's hindrance structure here. Dogger was able to apply Pathfinder to Milla, and after having Milla move, I was able to just get Gullveig out of there to reposition Nerthus to safety. And yeah. Mistake number 1 was not seeing the turn 1 initiation line. Mistake number 2 was thinking I would be able to have Gullveig 2-round the Corrin here, when in reality, either Gatekeeper stopped it or Gullveig couldn't take her out to begin with. I imagine the Gatekeeper probably stopped it there. I'm not super familiar with the Corrin matchup, but I have had Gullveig 2-round KO Corrins before, so I assume that the Gatekeeper was the thing that put me in jeopardy there. And as a result of that, you'll see that what ended up happening is I had to rely on the healing tower to win this map, and I do very strongly dislike having to rely on bonus structures to win a map, but oh well. In this case, it ended up being necessary. Fortunately, because of the positioning of my units, I was able to get Corrin out of the way, or in a position where she wouldn't be able to use Far Save to protect the Robin, which was another huge thorn in my side. And here I wanted to just make sure Nerthus was able to get her transformation bonus. I don't think it's strictly necessary, but it was something I wanted to get her. And of course, Sigurd's counterattack prevention effect on his weapon does require an HP threshold, so that was kind of unfortunate. Thankfully, between Dogger and Nerthus, I was able to take Gatekeeper down, and now it's just Corrin. But again, this map is not over, as we saw earlier in the combat previews. The Gullveig and Sigurd are unable to really fight the Corrin. Fortunately, she doesn't double Nerthus. So that's why the healing tower ended up being necessary for this clear, because Nerthus was the only one who could actually take the Corrin down in this case. Maybe I could have done it if I'd had Gullveig sit in the range of the healing tower for a bit, but didn't end up being necessary. For the 8th and final match, we have a somewhat tamer map, in my opinion. The trick here is my turn 1 initiation on the Elise. There's only 2 structures in between her and Gullveig, so I was able to refresh Gullveig, get her to land the KO on Elise, and use the extra action provided by Golden Winding to get out of harm's way. After that, well, I mean, obviously the safety fence locks down the enemies on turn 1. And then I was able to have Sigurd take out the Embla, and from that position I actually noticed that only Triandra and Peony were capable of targeting that space in the top left corner. So I was initially going to try and think about trying to rush down a little harder, but because of that vulnerability, I was able to stick Dogger in the top right corner. Peony does not have warp enabling, and so Robin wasn't able to land the attack, and I was able to get the refreshers taken care of really quickly. Then I promptly forgot about Canto Control, and I was planning on grabbing both Aether Structures, despite the fact that as the last match of the season I didn't really need to. I wanted to make a play where I would grab the Fountain and then get everybody to safety, but of course Gullveig cannot reposition Sigurd here because she would get locked down by Canto Control. Or that's what I thought in the moment. Because Nerthus has extra movements from Sigurd, it actually would have been fine. Anyway, conclusion time. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Aether Raids gameplay. I had a lot of fun, actually, running that team, despite the fact that, for me, I've actually been using that team for quite some time. This is, of course, the first time you're seeing it, so hopefully you were able to get some value out of that. I do fully plan on continuing this. I wasn't sure if I'd be able to sustain the motivation after the initial 3 seasons I've covered Chaos, Light, and Astra now since my return. So hopefully I will be able to continue this going forward. And yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and I will catch you next time.